All right. We are back here on the Big Orange Podcast. I am Charlie Burris. That is A to Z sports writer Zach Reagan. And it is National Signing Day. And we kind of actually went back and forth on actually doing this, or I guess I did in my my mind. Because National Signing Day for Tennessee has been relatively uneventful until like the last hour leading up to when we wanted to do this. Tennessee gets us I don't want to say unexpected commit from Deshaun Bishop, but one where people weren't sure if he would choose Tennessee. And then there's a new transfer coming in that just got announced. We're going to talk about all of that, and then we'll end off this segment talking about just the king of cringe at this point. Oh my gosh, Dabo, Joel Osteen, Sweeney, dude, dropping a quote that I can't believe is real. We'll talk about that at the end. But Zach, what's up, man?
You truly never know what you're going to get every day in college football. I mean, sports in general, really, right? I mean, that's why I'm wearing my Mets hat here. I had not wore that in a while, and I woke up this morning to Carlos Correa like landing with the Mets overnight. It's that kind of unpredictable after he had signed with the Giants, pretty much. So it's that kind of unpredictable stuff that makes sports so much fun, and especially in college football, you never know what you're going to get. Dabo, we'll talk about later, is a great example of that. But as far as recruiting, I mean, it's such an odd day, right? Like this used to be in February. It was a day that you took off work. You were by the TV. ESPN had announcements going all day. I mean, it was just this crazy event in the winter that every college football fan got so excited for. And now, like, the drama's pretty much gone. Like, you have a few guys that wait to announce. Most of your quarterbacks commit super early because they want a spot in the class. So you don't see a lot of movement with them typically. I know we did see Dante Moore go from Oregon to UCLA this week, but that's not something we're typically seeing these days with this early signing period with everything moved up. It's just kind of made it a little bit lackluster, but there are a few surprises here and there, and Tennessee did get a couple of those today.
Yeah. We'll talk about it all. Just wanted to break down from kind of 1,000-foot view this class, but I mean, yeah, you're so right. Like, it used to go when we were still in college. We would track down Basilio wherever he was. He would usually do a whole signing day thing and go eat there and watch what happened and listen to Basilio's show. And now I think those radio shows some of them still do stuff like that, but it is just not like, yeah, you sometimes get some of these surprises and there's been some flips here and there, but like by and large, it is just not at all what it used to be. And because of the early signing period, because of now NIL is a big factor, because the transfer portal is a big factor now, it's taking a lot of the shine off of it. But even though as a whole, I would say the recruiting industry in general is even more of a circus now as a whole. But then National Signing Day is not the circus that it used to be, the great, entertainment that it once was. But Tennessee lands a nice class, I believe. Number 11 on 3, number 9 on. I haven't looked at 247.
Yeah, that's typically what I still go by. Just old habits die hard type deal. I know on 3 is kind of the it recruiting site these days, but I still like 24/7. It's just what I've always used. So they were number 9 on 24/7 yesterday. Sometimes it takes a little bit to update their rankings.
Let's see, number 10, Notre Dame has passed Tennessee. Honestly, it makes me glad.
I wonder if the latest ones are included in that.
Oh, that's true. Well, it says 12 4-stars, 12 3-stars, and the 1 5-star Nico with 25 commits. So I think it would include Bishop.
I think they're missing the linebacker that Tennessee just got as a transfer, which I'm sure we'll talk about here.
Yes, for sure.
And they do include that in their rankings as far as I know, because they have their other 3 transfers listed down there. Andres Carrick, Charles Campbell, the kicker, and McAllen Castles, the tight end.
Fall is in the air, and that means fall grilling with cookouts, tailgate parties, and so much more. Luckily, the flavor experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to savor all the flavors of fall with their mouthwatering assortments of perfectly aged steaks, ultra juicy burgers, and easy to prepare comfort meals that are ready in a flash. And now is the perfect time to load up on all this incredible flavor and take advantage of 50% off site wide by shopping their friends and family sale. Go to omahasteaks.com and use my promo code VOLS, that is VOLS, at checkout and get $30 off your order. And guys, I've said it in these ads for weeks now. I've had all of the stuff from Omaha Steaks. I can't endorse it enough. Everything has been high quality. It comes right to your door, so easy and convenient, and I mean, most importantly, tasty. So I wouldn't say it if I didn't believe it. So don't wait. Go to omahasteaks.com and stock up today. Omaha Steaks isn't just steak. It's the best steak of your life, guaranteed. And don't forget to score that extra $30 off your order when you use Vols at checkout, VOLS. Omaha Steaks is perfect for those chilly and busy fall nights. You won't come close to getting this kind of quality at the grocery store. Visit omahasteaks.com. Promo code VOLS at checkout. Minimum order may be required. Omaha Steaks. Well, let's just go through this class. Overall, I think the thing that you notice in this class, off the top, it's Nico Yamaliava. You got your quarterback for the future. That's the big headline. Everybody wants to talk about the big sexy get. But I think the main thing that you see when you look through this list of players is defense. They went defense heavy. They got some dudes that they really wanted and did a good job tracking down some guys that I would say when Josh Heupel came in, I didn't think he would get defensive players of this caliber, at least not this many all at once. But you got Caleb Herring, David Hobbs, Aaron Carter. Let's see who else. Trevor Duncan, Nathan Robinson, some of the lower rated guys, Shandavian Bradley, Tyree Weathersby. Let's see, Jeremiah Thielander, Jordan Matthews, Christian Conyer, John Slaughter, Ricky Gibson. That might be it. I might have missed some. I'm just looking at UT's list here. But they went really defense heavy here. And I think you have a set of guys that when you combine them with the guys that Tennessee currently has, that'll be here for at least another 2 years. And then you also combine them with the potential transfers that Tennessee could get, just looking at the transfers that Heupel has already gotten. I think he'll probably get some pretty good ones going forward still. Tennessee could have a real defense. It could be not like this year before too long. And that's encouraging, I think. That's the main thing I noticed with this class.
Yeah, I think so. I would agree because a lot of the higher ranked players in this class are defensive players. Outside of Nico, your second best player is an edge rusher. Then you've got a linebacker there in the top five, a cornerback. You know, those are the guys that you have to compete with Georgia and Alabama. And obviously Georgia and Alabama are getting those guys and some higher rated guys, but you're right there, you know, with kind of on that same level of talent, right? Knocking at the door. Shouldn't see the same issues that we saw this year moving forward in a couple of years. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be an instant, you know, they make an impact in 2023, though it is certainly possible that one or two of those guys could. We've seen it before with, you know, Cam Sutton as a 3-star freshman, 2013, I believe. You know, he came out and played a key role for Tennessee's defense and ended up being a great player. And now in the NFL, signed an extension. So you can come in and make an impact as a true freshman on defense. I don't think you count on it, but really Tennessee's defense just kind of needs to try to be average at best next year. And then you look at 2024, we're saying, hey, you know, Tennessee gets these guys in place. They could also have an elite defense on top of having an elite offense, you know, elite defense being like a top 10, top 15 defense. I mean, you pair that with Tennessee's offense, you're an instant national championship contender.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the timing of the way that this class shapes up with last year's class, and you're kind of stepping in with probably Heupel's strongest roster the year that the 12-team playoff is implemented, and that's exciting. That's really, really exciting.
You know, what's really funny to think about that is no longer is making that playoff a goal at 12 teams. I mean, it's the expectation. Every single year, Tennessee will expect to make that top 12. So then the goal shifts from, you know, that to one winning the conference. So you get that top 4 and get the bye. or hosting a playoff game, because these games are going to be on campus, which I love. I love the fact that we're going to get December games in Neyland and some of these other great college venues. But then you don't want to host that game. You don't want to play on the road by any means, because home field advantage in college is a lot more important than home field advantage in any other sport, I feel like. So it's really exciting to think about the future, and this class is just the beginning of it. You would think that Josh Heupel kind of mentioned today when he was talking to the media, when they first started with this class, they were still dealing with a lot of that outside noise. And we talked about these kids make decisions early. A lot of these kids made decisions before Tennessee took a snap this year. They made decisions based off what Heupel and them were selling them based on 2021. So you would think in the spring, next spring, is when we're really going to see the fruits of this 2022 season come through in recruiting. So really, it should be even better in 2024.
It was really interesting hearing Heupel's uh, breakdown of this class. He mentioned over and over again it was athleticism, and I guess how you would put it is culture. He mentioned specifically competitiveness with guys was something that they were really looking for. And then also, would you say fit? He said it sort of like guys that have, I don't know exactly how to put it, have the same vision as us, sort of, is like um and fit the way that they want these players to think, I guess. He mentioned those things over and over again when he was talking about these guys, and some dudes that he pointed out specifically. Like he got asked about Arian Carter, which was the most recent like big pickup that Tennessee got, linebacker, kind of stolen from Alabama. And he mentioned, he obviously the athleticism, he mentioned it with him, but then he also said he's probably the most mature guy that they had, and that he is approaching everything in a mature way. And so I almost think it sounds a little like Rick Barnes does with his players. It's like Rick Barnes doesn't just go for like the the 5-star guy. He kind of goes for a guy that's going to come in and take the style of coaching that he gives, which with Barnes, it's he kind of rips you apart. He tears you down to build you back up, sort of. He's a pretty tough coach. With Heupel, honestly, a lot of that happens behind closed doors, and we don't really see all of that much. But he doesn't seem like as much of a hard-nosed guy like that. But I think he is definitely looking for in these players like a certain type of culture. And the guy that I look at in this class that I think exemplifies that is probably Nico. I mean, it seems like he's just embraced every single part of this whole thing, which is awesome. And I guess we'll see soon enough who else is there.
I mean, Nico, obviously, there's a ton of hype on this kid, and Heupel talked about him a little bit today already, about his explosiveness in the pocket, his ability to make plays with his legs, the way he's able to self-correct. Like he understands the process. He's coachable, and he can feel when he's doing something wrong, which is huge. I mean, for a player that young, I mean, he should still be in high school right now, and he's already practicing with, some guys that are 23, 24 years old, thanks to, COVID years and grad transfers and things like that. And this kid should be starting his final semester of high school. So that maturity is incredibly encouraging. But I think he's a better fit for Tennessee than like Arch Manning ever would have been. Just the way, like you said, the way he's embraced everything about Tennessee. Um, Arch Manning has been a little bit aloof in his recruitment, which is just kind of typical of the Manning family. They don't like a lot of media. They try to stay away from all that stuff, and it's a very old school vibe with them, which I appreciate. I think it's a cool thing. It's the way they've always been. But Tennessee needed a guy like Nico. They needed somebody out there to take pictures and smile with kids, walking up and down the sidewalk. They kind of needed that vibe. And he's such a positive person. I think that's really going to play well in Tennessee's locker room. So really, yeah, like you said, a great cultural fit. I'll tell you one guy in this class that I think doesn't get talked about enough. One, his abilities and what he can do at Tennessee, given the position he plays, and two, where Tennessee got him from is wide receiver Nathan Laycock. I mean, coming from Raleigh, 4-star guy, top 100 player, 6'3", 200 pounds, ideal wide receiver size. In theory, can slide right into that Cedric Tillman, Brew McCoy type role as a bigger receiver, which Brew McCoy did confirm today, by the way, that he's coming back next season, which we all expected. but to go into Raleigh and get this kid from UNC, NC State, maybe even like South Carolina or Clemson, go into that area to go get him from Eastern North Carolina and hold on to him through the entire year and sign him. I mean, that's huge for Josh Heupel. Who was it? We had somebody on the podcast before. Was it maybe Ramon Foster, Jabari Davis? One of them talked about how important it was for Tennessee to recruit North Carolina and bring some of those guys in the way they did in the late '90s with guys like Leonard Little and Jay Graham, people that contributed, to some of those great Tennessee teams. So it's nice to see Tennessee going back in there and able to land those guys because UNC they've recruited pretty well under Matt Brown and they wanted Laycock, but Tennessee was able to get him.
Yeah, when you turn to the offensive side of the ball, they all obviously made some really nice pickups there too. I think the defensive side was surprising because sort of what I said, like they were almost a set of players that I wasn't sure Heupel would actually be able to recruit here with the way that he coaches, that the style of his system. But yeah, I mean, offensively, obviously this system sells itself. But I think they made some really nice pickups. Let's see, Cam Seldon. You already mentioned Laycock. Who else here? A JUCO transfer, Larry Johnson the third. I think he's seems kind of expected to be an immediate contributor, so that's a really nice pickup. He's just not an actual freshman. Bison Lang on the offensive line. Max Gilbert, who is a kicker, I think, right? And it was pretty funny. They had a whole photo with everybody. He stuck out a little bit because he's kind of short. And we sort of noted it looked like when you invite your little brother to come hang out with you and your friends, and he's just kind of in the background. But hey, I'm sure he's great at what he does. Obviously, getting recruited to Tennessee. Shamrod Umarov, love that name on the offensive line too.
Dude, that picture, he's a big dude when he was
Dude.
standing there with the rest of the early enrollees. Really big guy. What you need
He's
along
massive.
the offensive line.
You also have Nate Spillman, wide receiver. Andre Carrick is a transfer from Texas. Khalifa Keith, running back that Tennessee sort of stole from Kentucky. And then you had today Deshaun Bishop, who comes straight out of Knoxville, Carnes High School, 3-star running back from Carnes. He's pretty small, 5'10", under 200 pounds, at least according to his 247 profile that I looked at. But an exciting player. He's speedy and shifty and a nice addition that, Keith, also a 3-star, so 2 3-star running backs there. And Bishop, it was kind of on the fence whether he would choose one of the other schools that had offered him. I think Appalachian State was the other big player there. But he just couldn't turn down the opportunity at Tennessee. And I told you this, Zach, his highlight film is just, there's a bunch of clips of him just torching my previous high school, Hardin Valley Academy. He made my boys look slow. So there is that. I mean, in terms of Knoxville football, he was really impressive. So another pretty solid pickup there, it seems like. But offensively, outside of Laycock, did anything stick out to you?
Not really offensively. I mean, they held on to pretty much everybody we thought they were going to bring in. Ethan Davis, tight end, obviously is a big addition to this class as well. I think that's somebody that could certainly play a key role in this offense. We saw this past year how important tight ends can be. I mean, we didn't see anybody put up crazy numbers, but we saw them being used in key situations. Jacob Warren made a bunch of big catches. Princeton Fant was used in all kinds of different ways. So that's a position that Tennessee can utilize, and they really needed some talent there, especially with what they're losing on that side of the ball. I mean, they brought in a transfer, but losing Warren, or possibly losing Warren, definitely losing Fant, and then possibly losing, or they did lose Miles Campbell. So they needed to bring some guys in there.
Yeah, they definitely did. Otherwise, I did find it just interesting. They listed Cam Seldon as a wide receiver on the official Tennessee recruiting class page. I've heard the typical thing about him is that they think he's probably going to be running back. But I think clearly that's sort of up in the air. I would love a sort of all-purpose back. That would be amazing. A guy that can catch and run. That would be great. It just seems like he's a really solid athlete in general. Obviously was listed as just an athlete in recruiting services. So otherwise, that's mostly it with the freshmen. As far as transfers go, We already mentioned Andre Carrick from Texas, and we talked about him before on the main show this week. You had Charles Campbell, the kicker, McCallan Castles, the tight end. We've talked about both of them. But then, just seconds before we kind of came on here to do this, a transfer from Brigham Young University at linebacker is coming to Tennessee. Keenan Pili, Pili. I believe that is how you would probably pronounce it, Pili. But you said, Zach, did he lead the team in tackles?
I think he was second on the team this past year in
Second
tackles.
on the team in tackles. Okay,
and
so
he'd been a captain for their defense as well.
So a senior guy who is, you gotta think, you look at that second leading tackler at BYU at a major university for a pretty decent football team. You got to think immediate contributor at a real position of need, because the only guy that you sort of know is coming back is Aaron Beasley at linebacker, and maybe Juwan Mitchell. And then other than that, it's just young guys that you haven't, that are still green. So yeah, this is big. This is a big pickup.
Yeah, I mean, it's a position that really, we talked about it earlier in the week, I believe, how underrated of a position of need it was for Tennessee, because you probably losing Jeremy Banks, and he has another year of eligibility, but I don't see him back in Knoxville next season. Juwan Mitchell up in the air as well. I mean, this guy, he's 24 years old already, so he's an older guy that could be playing in the NFL at that age. He had went on his 2-year Mormon mission trip, so he was a little bit older, finishing up there at BYU. But to bring in that type of experience, somebody that's played in Neyland Stadium before, was with that BYU team that beat Tennessee in 2019, so he knows what it's about to come to Knoxville and play in big games like that. It's huge. It might be the most underrated pickup of the entire class, because it was such a position of need, and they didn't settle. They found a guy that they felt like would fit their culture, would fit in, and could immediately make an impact. They didn't just go grab a linebacker out of the portal just for the sake of finding one. So it was a really smart move by Tennessee, and really probably an underrated move.
I love it. It just seems like such a good get. Probably this hasn't been announced or even talked about all that much, but probably a direct replacement for Juwan Mitchell. You got to think. I have no idea if they know at all where he's leaning in terms of coming back or not. He's older, so I gotta think. I mean, I think this was his 5th year, and next year would be his 6th, or maybe next. So. I think so. But this at the same time, Keenan Pili, I mean, he was in the class of 2016 originally, so he is no spring chicken himself. But I just really like this a lot, because we had just talked about, like, I'm not sure it's getting covered enough that Tennessee really needs linebackers, and the only ones that they're getting are these young guys. I mean, it would be great if some of these dudes from this recruiting class could step up, but any 18-year-old kid, it's going to be tough to throw him out there in SEC football. I mean, it is a totally different game. And now, I mean, not only does this kid have some serious college experience, he literally beat you. He has beaten Tennessee in football before. So I feel like it's a pretty good sign and a good last second pickup here.
Yeah, and anytime you can get a veteran guy right now, I mean, that's huge too. You saw Hendon Hooker being 24 years old, how that helped him as far as his maturity. I mean, that's something, like I said, these guys normally at this age are in the NFL, and they can be going up against guys 5-6 years younger than them next season. So that's a huge advantage if you're a defender.
And it is, the whole Mormon aspect of that is always fascinating to me. All those guys out of BYU, they do the 2-year mission, and then they come back and essentially start their career at age 20, if not older, usually 20. And so yeah, he's gonna be an old man when he shows up, relative to college football. But great stuff. Otherwise, anything else from today that you wanted to hit on, Zach, before we finish with Dabo's nonsense?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing outside of that, like I said, was just Brew McCoy saying he's coming back, kind of confirming that, which we already expected. We thought he would want to come back for another year and show that he's kind of the guy and can be an NFL prospect. But either way, that's still huge. He's a guy that you need, especially with Tillman and Jalen Hyatt going to the NFL. It gives you one of your guys that was starting all year back, and then you can slide Ramel Keaton and some of the other guys in there, Squirrel White as well, and hopefully not miss a beat.
Hopefully. I know a lot of people probably want to know, like, who do you think could be an immediate contributor? To me, that's almost more of a conversation that starts after like spring ball. Even then, I mean, I don't know. It really like fall ball where you can really see maybe in practice, like, oh, it looks like this guy might be a leader. This guy's taking first team reps. There's just almost zero indication of any of that. And I mean, 5-star down to 3-star can be a bust. It doesn't even matter. So I we could sit here and speculate. I just almost feel like it's
Yeah.
little bit of wasted time on the show. So we'll have that conversation at a later time. But let's finish with this. So this was another thing that right before we came on here, you saw, Zach. You discovered this. I can't believe this is real. Dabo Swinney in his press conference, I guess after a practice or
No,
something.
it was a signing day press conference.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. It would have been a signing day today. Yeah, that's right. And he's talking. I don't know in context. I've only seen the clip the youth sent.
There's really not much context to it. It's just Dabo and NIL.
So let's just play it. This is Dabo saying that he built the Clemson football program on NIL. Listen for yourself here.
Thinking through it, and I honestly, I mean, for me, we built this program on NIL. We really did, and it's probably different than what you're thinking, though. We built this program in God's name, image, and likeness, and that's how I look at it. So
he's so happy with himself after he says that too. He's so happy. He's like, y'all are gonna love this one. Listen here.
I would love to know how long he's had that one stored and ready to go, because if you go on Twitter and just type in Dabo Swinney, the video will pop up at this point, because it's my Twitter has been blowing up since that video went out. But he the little smirk on his face when he pauses and he kind of allows it to sink in, like, he's been kind of anti NIL, right? He's made all these comments. So he says we built this program on NIL, and it's like everybody kind of stops. It's like, what? Wait, what? Is Dabo? Has he turned here? Has he changed his mind? Is he embracing NIL? And then he hits him with that, which, I mean, that right there to me, I mean, that is there with the Butch Jones 5-star heart champions of life quotes. I mean, it is in that same vein. The only difference is that Dabo has been pretty successful and has won national championships, whereas Butch didn't. But the cringe factor is the same. And I think there's been all kinds of comments. I haven't seen nearly all of them, but somebody suggested if you'd built the program in God's name, image, and likeness, Clemson would be 13-0 right now and getting ready to go play in the playoff in the semifinal game, which they're not. They're playing Tennessee in the Orange Bowl instead.
There's somebody on Twitter who, when Tennessee got put into the Orange Bowl, and it was like a short thing that they were going to be playing Clemson with Dabo. This person, it's an anonymous account. I mean, I assume it's a guy. I don't know. But he or she sent me multiple pictures where it was Joel Osteen's face pasted onto Dabo's head. And, I thought it was funny. I think I retweeted it or something. Yeah, here it is. Volfan0531. Shout out to him. He's done this multiple times. Little did he know that would come so true. It'd be so real here. I mean, this is just...
It's so... a lot of the comments have been that, because I didn't discover necessarily that he said this. Somebody tweeted it, and I immediately went to find the video of it, because I could not believe that it was real. And that's what most of the comments on Twitter have been. People thought it was a parody, because that is a parody tweet. Like, that's what like the old Faux Pelini Twitter account that parodied Bo Pelini. It's something that account would tweet that Dabo said. It's not reality. It shouldn't be reality, but Dabo, I mean, that's college football for you. The things that The things that happen in college football do not happen in other sports. That's why it's so unique, and that's why I thrive on the what happens during the week before the games. That's, to me, I enjoy that almost more than the actual game. Just the back and forth, what the gamesmanship between coaches and the quotes like that. That's what I love about this crazy sport.
I just can't stand this in particular. I'm a religious person myself, churchgoer, but this type of stuff in college football. I mean, Hugh Freeze was really the big one that has, he sort of got outed as a hypocrite and things like that. And I said that on that show last week when we were talking about him. I hope he's fixed up his personal life and things like that and has all of that mended. I really do. But as far as it goes with college football, if you are winning national championships in college football, you're playing dirty. There's no winning at this level and being pure as the driven snow. That doesn't happen. It can't happen. Literally, that you're a liar if you think that if you say that that you're doing it without any sort of we've done nothing underhanded ever. No, you haven't, because that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works, and we all know that's not how any of this works. And so when you hear something that's just so over the top, like self-righteous, ridiculous like this, and you just go, shut up. Like, we all know. I said it about Freeze last week. I hope his personal life is reformed. There is zero doubt in my mind that the guy is still a snake when it comes to being a college football coach. He got a couple of players to flip today. You think he just had that happen because of the kid just shook his hand and said, "That's a firm handshake. I'm going to commit to Auburn." No, he was playing the game. Hugh was
as
playing
he's
the game.
been known to do.
Yeah, and Dabo plays the game. The man has won multiple national championships. He plays the game too. So just shut up with that, Dabo. Like, you can be a churchgoer and religious, but just don't act like you're morally above it all when we know how the college football game works.
I don't think anybody. I mean, college football is such a sport it's ingrained in the South, right? And I don't think anybody has a problem with Dabo kind of taking that approach. It's that it doesn't come across as authentic or genuine at all with him. I mean, that's the problem. And the same is true with Hugh Freeze. Now, Dabo, obviously, I'm not going to put him in the Hugh Freeze category because he has not done that we know of the things that Hugh Freeze had done and got him fired at Ole Miss with the escorts and the burner phones and all that. So I'm not, and I don't want to suggest that Dabo's in that territory because I don't think he is. But it's just over the top. Like I said, it doesn't come across as authentic. It's not genuine. I see him, and then I think about somebody that's really outspoken, like about their faith, like Tony Dungy. And Tony Dungy, the former Colts head coach, does not come across that way at all. I mean, Tony Dungy was very much just a live by example type guy. And you talk to any of his former players, and they'll tell you exactly what kind of character he has. I mean, if you are that person, it will come through, and people will know it, and people will talk about it, and people will respect you for it. And it won't be this thing that you have to go out there and try to advertise. And I think that's what gets people with Dabo, is it just so disingenuous when it comes out of his mouth.
Absolutely. Not a whole lot else to say about that other than that. I mean, it was just so absurd, and it's Tennessee's opponent in the bowl game, so we thought we'd bring it up. But I
forgot about that aspect of it. I mean, that doesn't really. I would like to know Josh Heupel and them's reaction to it. If they're just like, "Oh God, why would you say that?"
And it makes me so happy that Heupel doesn't do anything like that. I mean, there's two sides of the coin. You can be, I don't know who's a great example, like Rick Pitino at Louisville, kind of shameless about everything. You can be that guy, the sort of slimy gangster, or you can go to this complete other extreme and be like, no, I'm a great person. Like, we all know how this works. Just stop it. You just don't. I love the way Josh Heupel handles it. He just goes, no, we do. We're doing what we're doing over here. And that's it. And that's all that needs to be said. You don't have to, don't bring God into this. God, it's college football. All right. So that's it for this segment. There's going to be one tomorrow, tomorrow being Thursday. Before Christmas, we had a special guest on here. I guess it's already recorded, so I can say we had on Josh Mancuso, who is Coach Lance, who makes he's a huge Tennessee fan and also makes hilarious videos. I guess parodying college football and college football fandom. It was awesome. It's a great interview. We're going to post that tomorrow.
Yeah, he had some great stories too. So
yeah.
check that out. Some good non-Tennessee stories if you're into that. Kind of short and to the point things that most people enjoy there.
Yeah, he's like worked in the entertainment industry and had some awesome stories for us. So look out for that on the A to Z Sports Nashville YouTube channel. And go to asports.com to read everything that Zach writes over there and that I write occasionally. And I think that's pretty much it. Other than that, this is it for this week. And we'll talk to y'all next week.
See you guys later.